She was beaten, dragged into the storage closet, locked there overnight while winter bled through the cracks. No one searched. No one remembered. Just a charity case, a scholarship girl, a pity project of the system. They tore her books, poured milk into her locker, glued gum in her hair, and laughed as she curled into herself in the back of the classroom. Until the next morning, when her father walked in and said he was the founder of the school, and every mouth that had laughed fell silent. St. Belrose International Academy stood like a palace in Connecticut's rolling hills, its ivy-covered stone buildings and manicured lawns a monument to wealth and ambition. The school was a crucible for America's elite children of senators, CEOs, diplomats, and celebrities, their futures polished by a $60,000 a year tuition and a legacy of power. Its brochures proclaimed it the cradle of future leaders. But beneath the marble hallways and crystal chandeliers lurked a venomous hierarchy, where lineage and luxury dictated worth and outsiders were crushed under the weight of unspoken rules. Calla Reed, 17, was a ghost in this world of curated perfection. She'd transferred into the 11th grade 8 weeks ago, her faded green cardigan and scuffed canvas sneakers a stark contrast to the Prada blazers and Gucci loafers of her peers. Her cracked screen phone taped together at the edges drew sneers in the glass-walled cafeteria. She kept to herself, her dark hair falling over her shoulders, always sketching in a hardcover notebook, her pencil weaving landscapes, faces, and windswept trees with a precision that unnerved those who noticed. From her first day, the elite branded her charity case, a nickname spat with venom, marking her as an intruder in their gilded domain, a stain on their polished world. Calla's arrival had sparked whispers in the oak-paneled classrooms, her presence a quiet disruption to their order. She sat in the back of AP Literature, her notebook open, sketching the delicate branches of a willow tree, its lines flowing like water across the page. Serena Caldwell, a senator's daughter with a Prada blazer and a diamond tennis bracelet, leaned over her voice, cutting through the room like a blade. "What's that charity case? Drawing your dream house. Better make it a trailer park," she said, her lips curling into a smirk. The class erupted in laughter, their eyes glinting with the thrill of a shared target, their designer pens pausing mid-note to savor the moment. Calla's pencil didn't stop, her hazel eyes fixed on the page, her fingers steady. But Serena's words were a bruise, a wound that throbbed beneath her calm exterior. By the second week, the bullying had escalated, a calculated campaign to erase her presence, to remind her she didn't belong. In the cafeteria, Ethan Warwick, a lacrosse star with a Rolex and a trust fund, accidentally knocked Calla's tray to the floor, her apple rolling under a table as he smirked. His teammates flanking him. "Oops, didn't see you there, scholarship girl," he said, his voice dripping with mockery, their laughter echoing off the glass walls. Calla knelt to retrieve her food, her movements deliberate, her silence a shield against their scorn. Her cardigan felt heavier, its faded threads a spotlight in the sea of wealth, but she didn't cry, didn't flinch, her composure, a quiet rebellion that only fueled their rage. The elite clique, Serena, Ethan, and their inner circle of trust fund heirs saw Calla's silence as defiance, a challenge to their unchallenged reign over St. Belrose's social order. Lila Hensley, Serena's best friend and a tech mogul's daughter, led the next assault in the girls' bathroom during a free period, her heels clicking on the tiles like a predator's claws. She snatched Calla's notebook from her hands, flipping through sketches of city skylines, portraits, and windswept trees, her manicured nails gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "This is garbage," Lila said, tearing a page and letting it flutter to the tiles, the sound sharp in the quiet room. Serena smirked, ripping another, the willow tree's branches splitting apart. "You think you're an artist? Stick to cleaning houses," she said, tossing the notebook into the sink and turning on the faucet. Water soaked the pages, ink bleeding into ruin, the sketches dissolving into smears of gray and black. Calla stood frozen, her hands clenched at her sides, but she didn't speak, didn't beg, her hazel eyes meeting Serena's with a steadiness that burned a fire they couldn't extinguish. "Freak," Lila muttered, shoving past her, the others following their laughter, a chorus of contempt that echoed off the walls. Calla salvaged the wet pages, her fingers trembling as she pressed them flat, her cracked phone buzzing in her pocket with a text from an unknown number. "Go back where you came from." She deleted it, her face impassive, and walked to her next class, the ruined notebook, a weight in her bag. but her silence held a fortress against their cruelty, a vow to endure. The attacks grew more vicious, each designed to break her spirit, to grind her into the marble floors of St. Belrose. In the locker room after gym, Calla opened her locker to find milk dripping from its edges, soaking her textbooks. Her spare sweater and a sketch of her late mother, a woman with kind eyes and a fierce smile drawn from memory 5 years after her passing. The smell was rancid, the liquid pooling on the floor, a note taped inside reading, "Drink up, charity case." Serena's voice echoed from the showers, her laughter distinct among the giggles of her allies. Calla's canvas sneakers squeaked as she knelt to clean the mess, her fingers brushing the ruined sketch, a pang in her chest like a knife's twist. Another text buzzed on her cracked phone. "Nobody wants you here." She ignored it, her expression calm, but the weight of their hatred was a stone pressing harder each day, a burden she carried alone. In the cafeteria, Calla sat alone at a corner table sketching a new tree in her notebook, its branches reaching for light, Serena flanked by Ethan and Madison Tate. A celebrity's niece approached their trays, clattering as they loomed over her. "Look, it's the charity case eating our scraps," Serena said, her voice loud enough for nearby tables to turn her Prada bag gleaming under the chandelier's glow. She grabbed Calla's apple, tossing it to Ethan, who juggled it mockingly before dropping it into a trash can. "This is all you're worth," he said, his Rolex glinting as the crowd laughed. Madison pulled out her phone, filming her voice taunting smile for the Poor Kids Fund. Students joined in chanting charity case as Calla's pencil froze, her hazel eyes fixed on her sketch, her silence a fortress against the mob. A teacher. Mr. Carver stood nearby watching but turning away his inaction, a betrayal that cut as deep as the chants. The public shaming was relentless. Her dignity stripped before the school, her isolation, a spectacle that drew more onlookers. Their laughter, a wave that crashed over her. The chants echoed through the glass-walled cafeteria, a wound that cut to her core, igniting the audience's rage at the mob's cruelty. A chorus of injustice that demanded retribution. In the library, Ethan and his friend, Marcus Lee, slipped gum into Calla's hair while she studied their Snickers, muffled by the stacks of leather-bound books. Calla discovered it later, her fingers catching in the sticky strands. Her heart sinking, but her face unmoving. She spent an hour in a dorm bathroom cutting out the worst with blunt scissors, her dark hair now uneven, the mirror reflecting a girl who refused to break. She didn't report it. Didn't tell a soul her silence, a vow to endure her notebook, a sanctuary where she sketched new worlds, cities, forests, faces free from their venom. Each stroke a rebellion against their attempts to erase her. The bullying spread beyond the clique, a contagion fueled by St. Belrose's toxic culture where wealth was a shield and poverty a crime. During a history presentation, Calla's PowerPoint was sabotaged, her slides on the French Revolution, replaced with mocking images, a trailer park, a charity bin, a cartoon of a girl in a tattered cardigan clutching a cracked phone. The class roared, led by Chloe Bennett, a diplomat's daughter with a pearl necklace who clapped sarcastically from the front row. "Great work, charity case," she said, her voice dripping with disdain, her eyes glinting with malice. The teacher, Ms. Langley, did nothing. Her eyes averted her silence, a complicity that emboldened the laughter. Calla stood at the podium, her cracked phone useless, her slides gone, but she spoke anyway, delivering her analysis from memory. Her voice soft but clear, her knowledge undeniable. The room quieted her brilliance, a fleeting shield. But Chloe's smirk lingered and the laughter resumed as Calla returned to her seat, her notebook clenched in her hands. Later in the courtyard, Madison posted a photo of Calla's uneven hair on Instagram captioned, "Charity case needs a stylist." And Belrose. Elite comments poured in, each a dagger. "Loser freak. Leave." Calla saw it on her cracked phone, her thumb hovering over the screen, but she didn't respond. Her silence, a shield, her sketches, a refuge where she wasn't invisible, a space where her mother's voice. Draw your truth. Calla still lived. The faculty's inaction was a wound as deep as the students' cruelty, a betrayal that cut to the core of St. Belrose's promise. During a studio art class, Calla submitted a charcoal drawing of a city skyline, its lines precise, its shadows haunting, a reflection of her mother's stories of urban dreams. The teacher, Mr. Carver, held it up, his voice dry and dismissive. "Adequate, but uninspired. He said, ignoring the gasps of students who saw its brilliance. His words, a deliberate slight. Perhaps focus on something more relatable to your background, he added, his tone implying poverty was her only story. Serena snickered from the back, whispering, "Like a soup kitchen." Calla's pencil tightened in her hand, but she nodded. Her hazel eyes steady, her silence a refusal to beg for validation. After class, she found her drawing crumpled in the trash. Serena's handwriting scrawled across it. Charity, art. Calla smoothed it out. Her fingers tracing the skyline, her mother's voice echoing, "Draw what you see." Calla, not what they want. She tucked it into her notebook, her resolve hardening her silence, a promise to outlast their hatred, a vow that resonated with the audience's growing anger. After English class, Calla found a letter slipped into her locker printed on fake St. Belrose letterhead, claiming her scholarship was revoked for poor conduct. Signed by Dr. Voss, it demanded she leave by week's end, the words cold and official. Lila and Chloe watched from across the hall, giggling as Calla read it, her fingers tightening on the paper, her heart racing. "Guess. Charity case is out." Lila called, her voice loud enough for passers-by to hear her, tech heiress confidence unshaken. Students gathered, whispering, some laughing, others staring with pity, their eyes dissecting Calla's faded cardigan. The letter was a cruel prank, but its realism shook her, her cracked phone useless to verify its authenticity. She folded it carefully, her hazel eyes steady, but the public humiliation was a dagger, her security at St. Belrose mocked before a growing crowd. A boy muttered, "She's done," for his voice carrying down the hall. The laughter spread a wave of cruelty that left Calla standing alone, her silence a shield against their glee. But the prank's emotional toll was a deep cut, a wound that pushed the audience's fury to new heights, a call for justice that could no longer be ignored. In the guidance office, Calla sat across from Ms. Whitaker, the school counselor, seeking advice on scholarship applications for college. Her notebook opened to a list of questions. Ms. Whitaker, her silk scarf, pristine, barely looked up from her laptop, her nails clicking on the keys. "Let's be realistic, Calla," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, her eyes cold. "Students, like you, scholarship cases don't typically aim for Ivy Leagues. Maybe a community college is more your speed." The word stung, implying Calla's brilliance was a fluke, her ambitions laughable, her potential confined by her status. A group of students, including Chloe, lingered outside the open door, snickering as Ms. Whitaker continued. "You should focus on fitting in here, not dreaming beyond your means." Calla's notebook lay in her lap, her pencil still, but her hazel eyes burned with quiet defiance, a fire that refused to be dimmed. The counselor's public dismissal was a betrayal, her authority weaponized to crush Calla's future, her words a professional endorsement of the elite's scorn. Chloe's laughter carried into the hall, the sound a whip against Calla's dignity, a wound that deepened the audience's rage at the systemic cruelty she endured. The climax came on a frigid Thursday night, the campus blanketed in early November. Frost, the air sharp with the promise of snow, the stars hidden by a heavy sky. Calla was in the art room alone, finishing a charcoal drawing for a scholarship portfolio, a portrait of her mother, her eyes kind but fierce, a woman who'd risen from nothing to inspire her daughter's dreams. Serena, Lila, Chloe, and Madison stormed in their designer boots, clicking on the linoleum, their faces alight with malice, their breath visible in the cold air. Working late charity case, Serena taunted, her voice sharp as glass, her Prada bag slung over her shoulder like a weapon. Calla packed her supplies, her movements steady, but the girls circled her, their eyes predatory, their laughter a cruel symphony. "You don't get it, do you?" Lila said, grabbing Calla's arm, her nails digging into the skin, drawing a wince. "You're nothing here." Chloe and Madison seized her, their grip bruising their faces, twisted with glee. They dragged her down the hall, her canvas sneakers scraping the marble, her cardigan catching on a doorframe, tearing at the seam with a soft rip. Serena led the way to a supply closet near the science wing, its door heavy, rusted, and cold, a relic of the school's older wing. "Time to learn your place," she hissed, shoving Calla inside with a force that sent her stumbling. The closet was a tomb cramped and dark, filled with reams of paper, old paint cans, and the stale smell of neglect. The concrete walls radiated cold winter seeping through unseen cracks, the air biting at Calla's skin. She stumbled, her shoulder slamming into a metal shelf, pain shooting through her arm, a bruise already forming. The door slammed shut, the lock clicking with a finality that echoed in her bones, a sound that sealed her in. "Sweet dreams, freak," Madison called, their laughter fading as their boots retreated down the hall, their voices a distant mockery. Calla sank to the floor, her knees pulled to her chest, her cardigan too thin against the biting chill, her breath visible in the dim sliver of light under the door. Her cracked phone was in her bag, left in the art room, useless, a lifeline out of reach. The darkness was absolute, broken only by the creak of pipes overhead, the air sharp in her lungs, each inhale a reminder of her isolation. She pressed her hands to her face, her breath shallow, and let herself cry, silent, wrenching sobs that no one would hear, tears tracing paths down her cheeks. Her bruises throbbed. Her shoulder ached, and the memory of her ruined sketches. Her mother's portrait burned in her mind like a brand. She thought of her father, Nathaniel, his quiet strength, his belief in her resilience, his rise from poverty to power through sheer will. She thought of her mother gone 5 years, who'd taught her to draw, to see beauty in the broken, to hold fast in the dark. Calla's tears slowed. Her breathing steadied her resolve, hardening like steel in a forge. She wasn't weak. She was enduring her silence, a choice, not a surrender. She curled tighter, conserving warmth, and waited. Her hazel eyes fixed on the sliver of light under the door, a faint promise of dawn, a beacon of her survival. No one came. No teacher noticed her absence from the dorms, their rounds cursory, their attention elsewhere. No student reported the girl's actions. Their silence, a complicity as cold as the closet's walls, a betrayal of the school's proclaimed values. The campus slept indifferent while Calla shivered in the dark, her body aching, but her spirit unbroken, her mind a canvas for sketches that kept her anchored. She traced her mother's eyes in her thoughts, a willow tree, a skyline, her fingers twitching as if holding a pencil, each imagined stroke a rebellion against her confinement. The hours stretched, the cold biting deeper. Her breath a faint cloud in the dim light. But Calla's resolve burned brighter, her silence a vow, a fire kindling within her. She wasn't the charity case they'd branded her. She was Calla Reed, artist, survivor, daughter of a man who'd built an empire from nothing, a girl who'd outlast this night and face them all in the morning. Morning broke gray and sharp, the campus stirring with the hum of routine students trudging through frost-dusted paths, their breath visible in the cold. At 8 a.m., the principal, Dr. Helen Voss, called an emergency all-school assembly in the auditorium, her voice crackling over the intercom, tight with unease that betrayed her usual composure. "Attendance is mandatory," she said, her words clipped, echoing through dorms and classrooms. "We have a special guest from the board of directors representing the founding family to discuss disciplinary reform." Students filed in their navy uniforms, crisped their whispers, buzzing with curiosity, their faces a mix of boredom and intrigue. Serena and Lila sat in the front row, their Prada bags gleaming under the chandeliers, their laughter light as they recounted the closet prank to Chloe and Madison, their faces smug, their confidence unshaken by the morning summons. Ethan and Marcus slouched nearby, smirking their lacrosse jackets, a badge of untouchability, their eyes scanning the room for new targets. The faculty lined the walls, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension, their silence a continuation of their inaction, their blazers a facade of authority. The auditorium hummed the chandeliers, casting a sterile glow over the sea of navy blazers, the air thick with anticipation, the weight of something monumental hanging unspoken. The double doors swung open and a man entered, tall, cold, composed his charcoal suit impeccable, its lines sharp as his presence, his silver hair swept back, his face carved from resolve. Nathaniel Reed, 52, carried an air of ruthless authority, his gray eyes scanning the auditorium like a predator surveying prey, each glance a calculation. Flanking him were 2 lawyers in tailored suits, their briefcases gleaming with purpose. A board executive with a leather portfolio, her posture rigid and to the side, a familiar figure in a crisp St. Belrose uniform. Calla. Her dark hair was freshly trimmed, the gum-damaged strands gone, her faded cardigan replaced by the school's navy blazer, its crest gleaming on her chest like a badge of reclamation. Her bruises were hidden beneath long sleeves, her posture straight, but her hazel eyes burned with a quiet fire, a resolve that silenced the room, a strength forged in the dark. She carried her hardcover notebook, its cover worn but intact, a testament to her endurance, its weight, a symbol of her survival. The crowd froze, confusion rippling through the rows like a stone dropped in water. Serena's smirk faltered, her Prada bag slipping slightly. Lila's laughter died, her hands clenching and Ethan's jaw tightened, his Rolex glinting uselessly under the lights. Calla stood beside her father, her cracked phone, absent her presence, radiant despite the night's ordeal, her silence a mirror to his power. Dr. Voss stepped forward, her face pale, her navy suit suddenly ill-fitting, her hands trembling slightly. "Please welcome Mr. Nathaniel Reed, our founding family's representative," she said, her voice trembling, her authority fraying at the edges like a worn tapestry. Nathaniel took the stage, his steps measured his presence, a storm cloud rolling into the room, his voice low but resonant. Each word, a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples through the stunned crowd. "My name is Nathaniel Reed," he said, his gray eyes sweeping the auditorium, locking onto the front row with a precision that made Serena flinch, her confidence crumbling. "I'm Calla's father, and I am the highest shareholder and executive authority over the St. Belrose education system." The room gasped a collective intake of breath that sucked the air from the space, the chandeliers seeming to dim under the weight of his words, the air thick with shock. Serena's Prada bag slipped to the floor. Lila's hands froze. Chloe and Madison shrank in their seats and Ethan's smirk vanished, his lacrosse jacket a hollow shield against the truth. Calla stood unmoving, her gaze steady, her silence a mirror to her father's power, her notebook a quiet testament to her strength, its worn cover a badge of her endurance. "I enrolled my daughter under a need-based scholarship identity." Nathaniel continued, his voice cutting through the shock like a blade through silk. Each syllable a verdict, to test the very system I helped build, to see if St. Belrose truly shapes leaders or merely coddles cruelty. He paused, letting the weight settle, his eyes sweeping the faculty. The students, the administration, each face a canvas of guilt, fear, or dawning regret. "And you've all given me my answer." He reached into his suit jacket and pulled out Calla's hardcover notebook, its cover worn but unbowed, a survivor like its owner, its edges softened by her touch. The room leaned forward, the faculty shifting uncomfortably. Their inaction exposed their blazers, no longer a shield. Nathaniel opened it, revealing not just sketches, willows, skylines, her mother's fierce eyes, but a hidden compartment. A tiny camera nestled within its lens, glinting under the chandeliers, like a judge's gavel, a silent witness to their sins. This captured everything he said, his voice a blade sharp and unyielding, cutting through the room's silence, the torn pages in the bathroom, the milk in her locker, the gum in her hair, the sabotaged presentation, the Instagram post mocking her pain, the assault in the art room, the night my daughter spent locked in a freezing closet while this school did nothing while you did nothing. The auditorium was a crypt, every face frozen, every heart pounding, the air thick with dread, the weight of their actions crashing down. Serena's face drained of color, her senator father's influence useless. Now her hands trembling, Lila's hands shook her. Tech mogul pedigree irrelevant, her phone a liability. Chloe and Madison clutched each other, their diplomatic and celebrity connections crumbling under Nathaniel's gaze. Ethan's lacrosse jacket seemed to choke him, Marcus's eyes darting for an escape that didn't exist, his bravado extinguished. The faculty's silence was a noose, their complicity laid bare, Ms. Langley and Mr. Carver's faces pale as their failures echoed in Nathaniel's words, their careers teetering on the edge. Nathaniel's gaze was unrelenting, his voice a verdict that reshaped the room, a force that rewrote the rules of St. Belrose. "You thought Calla was a charity case, a pity project to be broken," he said, his tone cold but laced with a father's fury, a protective fire that burned beneath his composure. "You were wrong. She's the heart of this school. My daughter raised to see worth where you see status to create, where you destroy to endure, where you falter." He turned to Calla, a flicker of pride in his gray eyes, a rare warmth that grounded her, and handed her the notebook. A gesture that passed the stage to her, a silent acknowledgement of her strengths. Calla stepped forward, her new uniform pristine, her trimmed hair framing a face that no longer hid her hazel eyes, radiant with a strength forged in the dark, a fire that had burned through the night. She opened the notebook to a sketch, a willow tree, its branches unbroken despite the water damage, a symbol of her resilience, a testament to her survival. "I didn't come here to be one of you," she said. her voice soft but clear, resonating through the silent auditorium. Each word a note in a symphony of justice, a melody of retribution. I came to learn to create, to be myself. But you decided I was less, because I don't wear. Your brands don't flaunt your wealth, don't bow to your rules. Her eyes swept the crowd, resting briefly on Serena, Lila, Ethan, Chloe, Madison, Marcus. Each face a mirror of their own shame, their power stripped away. You hurt me. You broke my things. You locked me away. But I'm still here. The room held its breath, Kala's words a quiet thunder, her silence no longer a shield but a weapon, her presence a beacon of power that illuminated the room. I don't need apologies, she said, her gaze firm, unyielding, her voice rising with a clarity that filled the space, a clarion call that echoed off the mahogany walls. What I need is for people like me to be seen as normal. No one is charity at a school built by hands that came from nothing. Hands like my father's, like my mother's, like mine. The crowd stirred, students glancing at each other, some with shame, others with awe. The faculty frozen in their complicity, their blazers, a hollow facade. Kala's notebook was a testament, its sketches a map of her endurance, her mother's eyes a reminder of the woman who'd taught her to see beauty in the broken, to hold fast in the face of cruelty. Nathaniel nodded his hand, brushing her shoulder, a rare gesture of warmth that anchored her, a silent promise that she was never alone, and stepped back, letting her command the room, his pride a quiet force behind her. Nathaniel's voice returned cold and final, addressing the principal directly, his gray eyes pinning her to the spot like a specimen under glass. Dr. Voss, your administration is suspended effective immediately, pending a full investigation into your failure to protect students. He said his words, a guillotine that severed her authority. Dr. Voss's face crumpled, her navy suit sagging, her hands trembling. Her role as principal reduced to a memory in a single sentence. The faculty gasped their whispers, a wave of panic. Ms. Langley and Mr. Carver exchanging frantic glances, their complicity a weight they couldn't shed. Nathaniel addressed the faculty, his voice unrelenting, his gray eyes sweeping the line of teachers along the wall. Ms. Whitaker, you dismissed Kala's ambitions as unattainable, he said, his tone sharp. Mr. Carver, you trashed her art, calling it uninspired. Ms. Langley, you ignored her. Sabotaged presentation. Coach Ramsey, you excluded her from activities without cause. He named each with precision, his words a scalpel exposing their failures. You're suspended and your contracts are under review for termination. The teachers froze, Ms. Whitaker's silk scarf slipping to her shoulder, Mr. Carver's face ashen, Coach Ramsey's whistle dangling uselessly. The crowd gasped, students whispering the faculty's complicity, a stain laid bare before the school. Nathaniel's authority was a sledgehammer, his words dismantling their careers, their inaction, a legacy they couldn't escape. Kala's notebook gleamed in her hands, its sketches a symbol of her vindication, a testament to her endurance. The audience felt a thrill, the faculty's downfall, a testament to Nathaniel's power, a justice that ensured those who enabled Kala's pain faced consequences as severe as the students. Nathaniel's lawyers stepped forward, one holding a stack of legal documents, their presence a silent threat, their briefcases, a symbol of the reckoning to come. Serena Caldwell, Lila Hensley, Chloe Bennett, Madison Tate, Ethan, Warwick, Marcus Lee. You are expelled, Nathaniel said, naming each with precision, his voice a gavel, striking each syllable, a nail in their futures. Your families will face civil lawsuits for assault, harassment, and emotional distress. Evidence from the camera will be provided to the authorities, and your actions will follow you beyond these walls. The front row collapsed. Serena's sob breaking the silence, a raw, broken sound that echoed through the auditorium. Lila's hands covering her face, Chloe and Madison clinging to each other. Ethan's fists clenched but powerless. Marcus's head bowed in defeat. The crowd murmured shock, turning to awe. The elite's untouchability shattered their legacies, tainted by their own cruelty. Their names now synonyms for shame. Nathaniel's tone softened, but his authority remained a lighthouse in the storm. He'd unleashed a beacon of change. St. Belrose will launch a student protection program effective next week to ensure no one endures what Calla did, he said, his voice carrying a promise that reshaped the school's future, a vow etched in the marble walls. My daughter will serve as honorary oversight advisor, guiding its creation to protect every student regardless of background, wealth, or status. Calla's eyes widened slightly, the weight of the role settling like a mantle, but she nodded, her posture radiant, her silence now a symbol of power, her notebook a blueprint for a new St. Belrose. The auditorium erupted in whispers, students glancing at Calla with a mix of fear, respect, and shame. Their perceptions rewritten, their hierarchy upended. The faculty stood frozen, their complicity a stain, their inaction a legacy they couldn't escape. Nathaniel's lawyers distributed documents to the board executive, who nodded, confirming the suspensions and expulsions, the legal machinery already in motion, a machine that would grind the old order to dust. Calla stepped forward, her voice clear, her notebook open to a new sketch, a school gate wide open, welcoming all as oversight advisor. "I'll ensure no one faces what I did," she said, her hazel eyes sweeping the crowd, her words a promise that resonated through the auditorium. The protection program will have student voices, anonymous reporting, and zero tolerance for cruelty. St. Belrose will be a place where everyone belongs, where no one is judged for their past or their purse. The crowd stirred, some students nodding, others bowing their heads in shame. The faculty silent under the weight of their failures. Nathaniel's pride was evident, his gray eyes softening for a moment, a father's love shining through his resolve. Calla's role was a beacon, her vision, a promise of change, a future where her pain would birth equality. The audience felt a final surge of triumph, Calla's authority cementing her father's justice, ensuring her suffering became a legacy of reform, a victory that would echo beyond the campus. Calla took the stage alone, her notebook clutched to her chest, her voice steady, her hazel eyes catching the chandelier's light, a radiant force that filled the room. "My father built this school to lift people up, not tear them down," she said, her words a clarion call that echoed through the auditorium, a challenge to every soul present. "I saw your worst, your cruelty, your indifference, your silence. But I believe in your best. Make this place what it was meant to be, a school where every student is seen, valued, equal." She paused, her gaze sweeping the crowd, no longer avoiding anyone, her trimmed hair gleaming, her uniform, a symbol of her reclaimed place, her presence a lighthouse in the storm. The room was hers. The power shift complete, the toxic hierarchy, cracked open like a fault line, its foundations shattered. Serena, Lila, Chloe, Madison, Ethan, and Marcus were escorted out by security, their designer bags left behind, their futures uncertain, their names, now warnings carved in the school's history. The administration's suspension was a death knell for their old ways. The lawsuits a promise of accountability that would echo beyond the campus, a reckoning that would follow them. Calla's role as advisor was a beacon, her sketches a testament to her resilience, her silence, a force that had reshaped St. Belrose from its core, a power that had turned pain into purpose. As Calla stepped off the stage, her canvas sneakers replaced by polished school shoes, she walked past the front row, her gaze forward, her trimmed hair a crown of quiet strength, her navy blazer a badge of her victory. The crowd parted their whispers, trailing her like a wake, their eyes following the girl who'd turned pain into power, who'd walked through fire and emerged unbroken. She wasn't the charity case anymore. She was Calla Reed, the founder's daughter, the artist who'd endured, the voice who'd changed everything. The auditorium doors closed behind her, the chandeliers dimming, but her light remained a promise of a school reborn. Its toxic culture shattered its future, guided by a girl who'd walked in the dark and brought the dawn. St. Belrose would never be the same. Its marble halls now a canvas for equality, its legacy rewritten by the hands that came from nothing, hands that held a pencil, a notebook, a vision of a better world, like what you just witnessed. Then share and comment what justice means to you, and subscribe for more stories where silence walks in wearing power.